everyone, my name is Rachel. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am so excited because the day that I'm filming this, October 25th, is the first day of the Halloween themed Smutathon. This is a readathon that Riley from Riley Marie and Lainey, I will link both of their channels down in the description below. They host Smutathon every now and then. Sometimes it's just a weekend long readathon and sometimes it's a week long one. And so this one is 7 days. I am so excited about this particular round of Smutathon because I have been saving a ton of paranormal romances and just creepier, maybe gothic romances, a lot of smutty Halloween themed erotic novellas that I'm really excited about. So this is just the perfect time to read all of those things. So I guess I'll just go ahead and go into what I've been reading today. First, I finished As Good as Dead by Holly Jackson. This is definitely not an adult romance. This is book 3 in her A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series, which is a YA thriller trilogy. And yeah, so I basically read the entire second half of this earlier today, and then, oh, I'm so excited about this, I finally started Don't Hex and Drive by Juliet Cross. This is book 2 in her Stay a Spell series. I have been dying to read this book 2 because I read Wolf Gone Wild back in May, I believe, and I really loved that book. So I'm just really excited. I'm on page, let's see, 105. That is just about 30% of the way through. This one is a romance between Devraj, who is a vampire, and then Isadora, who is one of the Savoy sisters. They are witches, and this takes place in New Orleans, which is just the perfect city to place a paranormal romance series. And yeah, I love being back in this world that Juliet Cross has created, because we do have your standard, you know, like vampires, werewolves, but there's also other kinds of creatures like Grims, which are like Grim Reapers, I think. And I just love her sense of humor. I'm already obsessed with this dynamic between Isadora and Devraj. Isadora, she loves plants, she loves animals. So at first I thought she was gonna be like kind of a typical sunshiny character, but she's like oh no! I just realized my fan was still on, so I went and turned that off because I know that the microphone on this camera would pick that up. So anyways, back to this. Yeah, Isadora, she's definitely over men. She's a lot more, I guess, serious than I originally thought she was going to be. And then Devraj, he is this gorgeous vampire who was a Bollywood actor as well. And the scene that I just left off on, Isadora and her sisters are watching one of his films, and Isadora is just insanely attracted to him, even though she doesn't want to admit that. And Devraj, from the moment that they actually met because he ran into her, like she was riding her bike and he was in his car, he ran into her bike. But luckily she wasn't hurt too bad. But yeah, from the second that he saw her, he was immediately infatuated with her. So yeah, I just love this whole dynamic between the two of them, having a really fun time with that. I guess I'll tell you guys like the TBR that I am thinking of. I have at least like 8 books or something that I want to get to this week. We'll see what happens. I do have a couple of novellas, so that's going to be really easy. The first one is Sanguine by Sierra Simone. All I know is that this is a male-male romance between a vampire and I believe a vampire hunter who might also be a priest. I don't know. Then we have Halloween Boo. It's a ghost romance novella. That's it. Another ghost romance that I have on here is Ghost Walk. I can't remember the author for that, but we'll see. That one's kind of low on my priority list, so I might not get to that this week. But books that are high on my priority list, we have All the Queen's Men by Kay Lorraine, I believe, is the author. This is paranormal fantasy reverse harem. The audiobook has like a full cast of narrators, and they are all some of my favorite audiobook narrators. So really excited about that. I also really want to get to Layla by Colleen Hoover. This is, I think, her only paranormal romance, and this is on KU, and actually it's also free to get the audiobook if you check out the ebook on KU. There's actually a couple of things that I want to read from Harley LaRue. I want to read The Dare. This is a novella that takes place on Halloween, and it actually got banned on Amazon. All I know about this is that I believe the heroine bullied the hero back in the day, and so this novella contains a lot of like humiliation and kind of like him bullying her back, I guess you could say. So the only way that you could get a Kindle compatible version of this novella is going on Eden Books. I'm gonna put that link down in the description below. The ebook was like $3.99, so not too bad. And then the other Harley LaRue that I really want to read is Her Soul to Take. This is definitely a paranormal romance between a demon and this woman who I think is being sacrificed to that demon, something like that. This one's on KU. It's not banned on Amazon. And then if this happens this week, it would be amazing, but this is a pretty chunky book. This is Gothicana by Runix. This I don't think is paranormal. I think it's just a gothic romance, but I've been really meaning to read this, and if I don't get to it this month, I'll definitely get into it in November. But this is a romance that I've really been looking forward to, and I have a couple of friends on BookTube that have been loving this. So yeah, that's gonna be it for this reading update. Like I said, I am just loving Don't Hex and Drive. I can tell you right now, it's probably going to be a 5-star read. I feel like Juliet Cross just has a writing style that as soon as I start her books, I immediately love them. So yeah, really, really exciting, and I will talk to you guys at some point tomorrow. Hey guys, what's up? Happy Tuesday. So I definitely have the reading update for you. So first of all, I finished Don't Hex and Drive by Juliet Cross just a little while ago, and of course I'm giving this 5 stars. Nobody is surprised. Oh my goodness, Devraj, our hero, is straight up one of the hottest men I have ever read about in any romance novel. Why isn't he real? Why can't he be my boyfriend in real life? Like, oh my goodness, I love him so much. So if for nothing else, read this book for Devraj. But I really liked Isadora too, and I liked the dynamic between them. Something else that I really love about Juliet Cross is she knows how to incorporate like a mystery slash suspense B-plot into the story without taking away from the romance. There's just like a perfect balance there, because there was also that kind of element in Wolf Gone Wild, and I really enjoyed that one as well. So yeah, this was absolutely fantastic. I can't wait to read Witches Get Stitches, which is the 3rd book in the series, really soon, and then a holiday novella anthology very recently came out. I think it's called Walking in a Witchy Wonderland, so I can't wait to read that one soon as well. I'm just obsessed with this world and the characters. I love the Savoy sisters. Yeah, so I'm just really excited about reading more and more from this series. And then I actually just finished a really short novella. This is Sanguine by Sierra Simone. It says on Goodreads that this is like 60 pages, but I think it may be even less than that, because at the end of at least the Kindle edition, there was a sneak peek for Saint, which is Sierra Simone's newest full novel. So I think this might have been maybe like 40 pages, definitely short and sweet. This is about a vampire named Bastian. He is vacationing, I think somewhere in Australia. And then we have Aaron, who used to be a priest and a vampire hunter, but he has quit that job. And so I think he's working for a security company around the area where Bastian is staying. And so Aaron just randomly shows up to Bastian's place, and it's really interesting, the dynamic between these two, because Bastian is very like funny and sarcastic and definitely more outgoing, and Aaron is definitely more like serious and broody, I guess, but also very sweet and sincere. And so yeah, he just shows up to Bastian's place and he's like, will you go on a date with me? And it's just like really sweet and unexpectedly lighthearted, and I loved the sense of humor, especially from Bastian's character. Yeah, I definitely recommend this if you're in the mood for really short and sweet male insta-love romance between a vampire and an ex-vampire hunter. It was just a really good time, so I gave that one 4 stars. So I'm actually about to go get ready for work. I have a couple of dance classes to teach tonight at the studio that I work at. And then after that, I'm not sure exactly which book I want to pick up next. I think I want to go with All the Queen's Men by Kayla Rain, which is a reverse harem. I believe it's also a fae romance. Maybe at least like the main character is fae. and the men in her reverse harem, I'm not sure. I think there's like vampires and werewolves involved as well. I've really been looking forward to listening to this audiobook in particular because Charles from Books on Stereo has highly recommended this one. There's just a lot of amazing narrators involved. So yeah, I think I'm gonna start that one at some point tonight. All right, good evening, everybody. It is Wednesday night. It's just about 9 p.m. This is a little late for me to be doing a vlog update. Usually I like to do updates during the day, but I wanted to be finished with the book that I started last night before coming on here. Also, I got my booster shot for COVID. Woo woo. I'm excited about that. So we'll see if I have any side effects tomorrow. I purposefully got the booster today because I don't have work tomorrow in case I get sick or anything like that. So yeah, hopefully I don't have as bad of side effects as I did the first time that I got the vaccine way back in April. But yeah, so for a reading update, I did finish All the Queen's Men by Kay Lorraine. I ended up giving this 4 stars. So let's talk a little bit about the plot and then I'll go into my feelings about this book. So this is a fae fantasy romance reverse harem book. And I think it was originally published as like 2 separate shorter books, but then it got published in August as one longer book, and it was only like an 11-hour audiobook. So I'm kind of glad that it was just published as one story. It makes more sense that way after reading it. So this is about our main character Maeve. When she was a baby, she was born to the king and queen of the Shadow Court. Like I said, this is a fae romance, so they are living in the land of the fae. But she has to be hidden away in the human world because people are essentially after her. She is the heir to the throne. The king and queen get murdered at the beginning of the book. And so she spends the first 21 years of her life in the human world, and then these 2 men, Finn and Jensen, they are fae warriors. They come to live with her as she's turning 21 to be her bodyguards. And so starts the reverse harem because she falls in love with the both of them, and then they take her back to the fae world with them once she turns 21 so that she can take the throne and be the queen of this land. And she ends up meeting 2 princes. The first one is Christian. He is the prince of the Night Court. And then she also meets Rhys, who is the prince of the Sea Court. And she also has to marry a prince in order to take the throne. And she also has to do some trials. So a little of this gives me vibes of ACOTAR because of the trials that she has to do. And there is a character named Rhys, and he's definitely like the bad boy of these 4 men that Maeve has relationships with. So he does remind me just a teensy bit of Rhys from ACOTAR as well. I really enjoyed this. I gave this 4 stars. Like I said, I enjoyed all 4 of the men in Maeve's harem pretty equally. I don't really think I have a favorite. It was also fun because there was some sword crossing with Rhys and Christian. They end up falling for each other as well. And my only thing with this book is that we didn't get a spicy scene with all 5 characters. We did get a scene with 4 of them, and Jensen was off doing something like some of his like bodyguard duties or something. So I found that to be kind of odd. I've never read a reverse harem where we don't get a scene with everybody involved. So that's the only thing. I have to say the audiobook was absolutely fantastic. I think there were like 7 narrators total or something, because we had narrators for the 5 main characters, and I think they also brought in 2 other narrators to do any other like miscellaneous voices. All of the narrators were great. They were perfectly cast for their different characters. One of my absolute favorite audiobook narrators is Teddy Hamilton, and he voices Christian, the prince of the Night Court, who is also a vampire, by the way. And yeah, so I loved getting to hear his voice in this story. It was just really great. There's also a short story at the end of this where a minor character gets their happily ever after, and that was just fine. I was kind of zoning out for that. It doesn't really have anything to do with the plot of the main story or anything like that. Had a really good time with it. I definitely want to read more fantasy romance reverse harems. I've really only read like paranormal and contemporary ones so far, because that's definitely a subgenre that I'm really just now dipping my toe into. So if you have recommendations for fantasy romance reverse harems, definitely leave them in the comments below. And then I did start The Dare by Harley LaRue. I'm literally like 3 or 4 pages into it. I wanted to stop myself and film this update before getting too invested in that novella, because I can already tell that it's just gonna be amazing. Like, I know that this novella is not gonna be for everyone because I know that there's like a lot of humiliation. This is definitely a darker, more taboo, erotic romance going on. I don't even know if there's a happily ever after at the end. I don't know. I'm assuming that there is, but I really don't know. So yeah, this is definitely darker, not for everybody. It has an average rating of 3.4 on Goodreads, and like I said, it's banned on Amazon. So that link for Eden Books will be linked down below if you have a Kindle like myself. The book is definitely still available like on Nook, Kobo, Apple, those platforms, but it was banned on Amazon. So yeah, I'm gonna dive back into that because like I said, I'm already obsessed and we're like 3 pages in. Happy Thursday, everybody. It is an absolutely gorgeous fall day today. We do not get many days like this in Southeast Louisiana. So when we do get them, we have to take advantage. I definitely want to go frolic with nature at some point today. Will it actually happen? We will just have to see. Just a little bit of an update. I told you guys that I got a booster shot for the COVID vaccine yesterday, and the only side effect that I'm feeling is soreness at the injection site. If I touch it, even as softly as I'm touching it right now, I'm feeling pain. And if I move my arm really in any capacity, I feel pain. But I did want to throw out there that the first vaccine I got was the J&J vaccine. That vaccine only protects you for a couple of months, and I got that back in April, so it was definitely time for me to get a booster. And you can mix and match different vaccine brands. Just thought I would throw that out there. Hopefully me talking about vaccines doesn't get me demonetized because I am poor and I need money. So yeah, reading update though, I finished 2 things since I last spoke with you last night, and I tried to start a 3rd thing, but I like almost immediately DNF'd it, so we will get to that when we get to it. But the first thing that I finished was The Dare by Harley LaRue. Finished that last night, had to read it all in one sitting. It's a novella, but it's like a solid like 115, 120 pages, maybe even more than that. And when I tell you this novella grabbed me by the collar on page 1 and didn't let me go until the last sentence, I am not exaggerating. This was easily one of the most intense and hot things I've ever read, whether that be a novella or a full novel or what have you. I feel like the first thing I want to start with is I find it laughable that this got banned on Amazon, because I have read some pretty dark and taboo things off of Amazon, things that are just as dark as this novella, and those books are not banned. So my question, maybe some of you guys can answer this in the comments, is like, how does something get banned on Amazon? Did somebody complain like a lot to Amazon, and so they felt like they had to take some sort of action? Like, I don't understand why some things get banned, some things don't, when there's all kinds of taboo things on Kindle Unlimited and just Amazon in general. I don't understand that. Yeah, I think it's dumb that this was banned. Basically, we have Manson and Jess, and when they were in high school, she definitely bullied him and his friends, who are known as the Losers. He has 3 best friends that make an appearance later on in the novella. And yeah, so she definitely bullied them, but they also had a very interesting relationship, like her and Manson in particular. Like, they definitely like insulted each other. They both dished it as much as they took it. And they even made out at one point when they were in high school, but things kind of turned bad for them. After that, I'm not gonna spoil anything like that. So basically they are now at this Halloween party. They are now college age, so it's probably only been like a few years since high school. And Jess and Manson get into this game of beer pong where there's also like a possibility of daring each other to do whatever the hell they want the other person to do. And so that's kind of where like the humiliation stuff comes into play. This book just had me on the edge of my seat, because especially for that scene, I was like, oh my god, like, what are they gonna dare each other to do next? Like, I was just so in it. And then after that game's over, more things happen. Things get very spicy, very kinky for sure. And where the Losers come into play, his 3 best friends, they come to the party dressed as clowns, which that's kind of terrifying. Although I will say, at least they weren't just wearing like scary clown masks. It was them just wearing like clown makeup, which I would much prefer than like a scary clown mask. I hope that makes sense. And so spicy things happen with them as well. This was incredible. I was talking to one of my bookish friends, McKay. I will link her channel down in the description below. I met her recently doing a live show on Jessa's channel, who I will also link down in the description below. But I recall her talking about how much she loves this novella, and so I immediately messaged her after I finished this, and I was just gushing to her about how awesome it was, how much I personally loved it. And she told me that Harley LaRue is writing a full-length novel about these characters, and oh my god, I am so excited. Like, now I just want to message Harley LaRue herself, because I follow her on Instagram, and just demand that she give me a release date for this book, because I will be buying it the second it is released. I am dying. Like, I literally wrote in my Goodreads review before I talked to McKay that I low-key wanted a full-length novel about these two characters falling in love and seeing more development with the losers and like all of that. Like, now I'm even more excited to read some more of her backlist, like Her Soul to Take, that is on this Smuttathon TBR. I don't know if I will actually get to it this week, but I will get to it very soon. And then earlier today, I tried to start Layla by Colleen Hoover. This is a paranormal romance. This is on Kindle Unlimited for, you can get the audiobook for free if you check out the ebook off of Kindle Unlimited, which is great. But as intriguing as like the prologue was, the prologue's only like a couple pages. That was very intriguing and mysterious. But the first chapter, I immediately just did not connect with these main characters at all. And I'm kind of over the manic pixie dream girl trope, and that's definitely the kind of character Layla is, our heroine. And I just immediately was not down with that. So I just didn't care. And so I DNF'd it like maybe 10 pages in. So I decided to read one of the Halloween novellas that I have off of Kindle Unlimited. Currently, I have like 5 Halloween novellas, I think, that I want to read as soon as possible before Halloween or around Halloween. And so today I read She Did the Monster Mash, and I think it's KM Strange is the author, and I heard about this novella from Maya Reed Spice because she does this series on her TikTok where she talks about weird romances or weird erotic novellas that she finds on Kindle Unlimited. And so she's been doing videos specifically about Halloween novellas, and this one came up. I mean, what can I say? The title's genius, right? But this is just like a 50-page novella, and we have our main character who I loved the energy of this novella, because at the very beginning you can just feel this like childlike giddiness that our main character has for Halloween. She truly loves the holiday and everything about the holiday. And this is like 50 pages of her having spicy times with numerous people. I will say that there is one scene in particular that gets pretty rough. It's the last scene before the novella ends. And there's a lot of like degradation kink going on, and I was fine with that scene, but there was a particular word that the guy kept calling our heroine that I'm not a fan of. I'm just not a fan of this word during spicy times. It's the B word. I'm not going to say it because I don't want to get demonetized. I don't know if cursing is allowed on YouTube. But that's just not hot or sexy to me when somebody calls somebody the B word. So that was my only thing. Everything else about this was fun. I gave it 4 stars. If you're in the mood for something like this, I would recommend it. It's basically like her having fun times with people that may or may not be paranormal in some way. So yeah, fun times. Then I don't know what to start next. It's only like 2:30 right now. I've got a lot of time left in my day. I'm debating starting one of 2 really chunky books, and I feel like I need to pick one and commit to it for the rest of this readathon. So I'm debating between Gothicana by Runix, which is a gothic romance. I do not think it's paranormal at all, but it doesn't need to be paranormal for this Smuttathon. So this is a pretty chunky book. It's like over 400 pages. And then I'm also debating whether I should start Her Soul to Take by Harley LaRue, which is also about 450 pages. This is definitely paranormal. It's like an erotic horror novel, I think. So I'm debating between these 2 because I only have like 4 days left to the readathon. So I want to pick one and just read like a small chunk of it every day, and then read something else to kind of cleanse my palate, since these are you know, chunky books. So I'll let you know which one I end up choosing. They're different books for sure, and I'm in the mood for both of them, so I don't know. And they have a very similar average rating on Goodreads, so like, I don't know. But I will try to go enjoy this beautiful weather, and I will start something else, and I will talk to you guys at some point tomorrow. Happy Friday, everybody. It is just about 2:20. So it is still really beautiful weather here, so I'm getting ready to go on a walk with my mom and our dog Chloe to take advantage of that, because like I said yesterday, we only get a few days a year like this in Southeast Louisiana. So reading update for my chunky read for this readathon, I decided to go with Gothicana by Runix. This is marketed as a dark academia gothic romance, and it totally is that in every sense of the word. This is truly the definition of a gothic romance. At the moment, I am 46% of the way through. I decided to read about a third of the book every day until I finish it. So last night, I think I got to about like 33%, and then I just stopped at 46%. So I'm hoping to get to at least 66% by the end of tonight. And then I also read a novella last night after I read that first chunk of the book. So I guess I'll talk about the novella first because I finished it, and then I'll get into my thoughts about Gothicana so far. But yeah, the novella I read was just for Halloween. I believe this is by Roxanne Riley. I went into this thinking that it was just going to be about an established couple having a threesome for one night. Like, I didn't think there was going to be a happily ever after or anything like that, but this actually turned out to be a really sweet poly romance. It is MMF. So we have Summer and Ben. They've been in an established relationship for quite some time, and on Halloween they decide to go to the sex club that Summer works at as a bartender, and they decide to pick up a guy and have fun times with him. And so they meet Nick and they have a one-night stand with him, but they realize that they really, really like him, and they end up being in a poly relationship, like I've already said. So I gave this 4 stars. It was surprisingly sweet. The perfect amount of spicy scenes for sure. This is a pretty short novella. I believe it's about 60 to 70 pages, so you'll definitely fly through it. I'm planning on reading more of the novellas in this little series that Roxanne Riley has written. There's one specifically called Just for Christmas that I will definitely be reading in December. So let's go back to Gothicana by Runix. So this is about our main character, Corvina. She's definitely one of the more, I guess you could say, odd main characters that I've ever followed in a romance novel, because she lived a very, very sheltered life. She lived in this really small village just with her mom, and the people in the village just thought that they were weirdos, so nobody ever really talked to Corvina or her mom. And so Corvina's definitely been homeschooled all of her life. Now she's 21, and she gets this mysterious, like, handwritten letter from this university called Varenmore. And it's just a university that's housed in this like crazy gothic castle, and they invite her to study there on a full scholarship, and she has no idea why. Halfway through the book, I still have no idea why she has been invited to this university, but yeah, she shows up. She immediately starts making friends, which I think is really great. I thought that maybe she was going to end up being kind of a loner throughout this book, but she does make friends her own age. And then our hero Vad, or Vad, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce his name, it's just spelled V-A-D. I think I'll pronounce it Vad. I'm gonna go with Vad. He is 28. He's working on his doctorate at the university, and he is also one of Corvina's teachers. He is teaching her English literature class, and so this is definitely a forbidden romance, because obviously romances between a student and a teacher, that's gonna be very forbidden. And he is just a very dark and broody and mysterious guy. He's one of these heroes that's like, you should stay away from me, but I can't stay away from you. Like, we obviously have this attraction to one another. And this book is so good so far. Like I said, I'm just about halfway through, and it's just such an intriguing story. I adore the atmosphere. I need more truly gothic romances in my life, so if you have recommendations, please leave them down in the comments below, because I haven't been able to find that many that have a very prominent romance. Like, usually they're gothic stories and there might be a romance, but the romance isn't very prominent. But I want both. I want the gothic setting and I want the romance, right? So yeah, we definitely have like a morally gray hero, and I like that Corvina doesn't let him get away with his bullshit, because he's definitely said some things to her that are problematic, but she calls him out about it, and I'm here for that. I was afraid that she was going to be very, very submissive towards him, but she definitely stands up for herself, and it's just really good. We've already gotten some spicy scenes. Like I said, I'm obsessed with the atmosphere, because there's also some like mysterious woods right by this university. So yes, I'll definitely update you guys tomorrow. I'm hoping to finish this by tomorrow night. We will just have to see. Very late for me to be filming an update right now. It's just about 10:15, and I don't usually film this late, and it's also funny because I stay up till at least 2 a.m. on any given night, so this shouldn't be that weird to me to be filming this late, but also this ring light just feels especially bright right now. So, reading update, I have 2 things to talk about that I finished. So last night, after finishing my chunk of Gothicana by Runix, so I got about to the 68% mark last night, I decided to read Halloween Boo. I believe this is by Sarah Spade. This is a novella. It is very thinly veiled hocus pocus fanfiction. We have our main character, Danny, and she's been living in her apartment with this ghost named Zachary. So you can guess who these characters are based off of from the movie, right? I gave this 3.5 stars. I thought this was overall a really sweet and adorable ghost romance with a very solid plot twist towards the end. I did not expect this to have any plot twist, but I did find myself zoning out towards the middle. Just wasn't as entertaining as like the beginning and the end for me, so I settled on giving this 3.5 stars. Would I recommend it? If you're looking for something like this for Halloween, yeah, go ahead and read it. I definitely expected to like cringe my way through this because I knew that it was hocus pocus fan fiction, but let me just tell you that, you know, both main characters are definitely adults. There's nothing creepy about it, I promise. And I don't think that these characters of Danny and Zachary are like too close to their movie counterparts. This novella just makes a lot of hocus pocus references. Today, my focus was just to work my way through the last third of Gothicana by Runix, and I did finish it earlier this evening. So on Goodreads, I gave this 5 stars. Do I think that it's more of a 4 or 4.5 star? Maybe. I do think the pacing could have been better and it could have been just more consistent. Obviously, a romance novel that's 450 pages is not going to be very fast paced. And while this does have a plot to it because there is like a mystery going on, there's these deaths and disappearances and things like that, this is not a plot-driven book. It is definitely a character-driven book and an atmospheric-driven book too. But I just think that the pacing could have been more consistent, because I noticed, especially at like the 70-ish% mark, the pacing definitely ebbed, and there were probably other parts of this novel where the same thing happened, but I just didn't really notice it. I really love this because I think I mentioned this in my last update. This really truly is a gothic romance in every sense of the word. With VOD, I think that gothic romances need to have these kinds of like mysterious and broody heroes who are morally gray. They may or may not be not so good people. you know? And I think it just really worked for the story that Vod, you didn't really know if he was good or bad, right? And I just don't think that they would be as intriguing or as interesting if the hero was like perfect or normal or anything like that. So I personally really liked Vod's character. What I will say though is that it took me a while to really warm up to him, but again, I think that was Runix's intention for sure for writing this character. And she even puts in the author's note that he's a very frustrating character. And he is frustrating because on one page he will just be kind of an asshole to Corvina or to other people in the book. And then on the next page, he's saying and doing these extremely romantic and sweet things for Corvina. And also, we just love straight-laced heroes who talk dirty in bed. And I'm gonna leave it at that. So, yeah, and I really liked Corvina's character because I mentioned this earlier. Yes, she's odd, but she's also very genuine and strong as well. And she's just very likable. I really liked her character, and she just felt very unique and yeah, and also kind of relatable. I related to her in a lot of ways. Also, I do want to point out that this is one of those books where not all of your questions are going to get answered. I like those kinds of stories, but I know a lot of readers who absolutely hate that. So I just wanted to throw that out there before you try to commit to this book, because it's chunky. It's like I said, 450 pages. So yes, you will still have questions at the end of this. And I really liked the way that this ended. And I loved their epilogue, seeing Vod and Corvina make a life with each other. It was just really sweet and a really good way to end this book. I loved the balance of the atmosphere with the mystery and the suspense. This book does get pretty dark, but Runix is very clear about all of the content warnings before the book even starts. So I would definitely read that content warning before trying to read this book. But yeah, I just love the balance of all those things with the romance. I thought everything was really well balanced. If you have recommendations for truly gothic romances where the romance is just as prominent as the gothicness. You know, I haven't really read that many true gothic romances where the romance is truly prominent. The only one that I can think of that I've loved is The Headmaster by Tiffany Rice. And I've read some gothic stories, but they definitely aren't gothic romances. So please leave your recommendations for that down in the comments below. I definitely want to read more of those. So we do technically have one more day to this readathon, but if I'm being perfectly honest with you guys, I'm just a little burnt out on Halloween-y romances, and I've been reading a lot of Halloween erotic novellas in particular in the past couple of weeks. So I don't know, I'm kind of debating on just like ending the readathon for myself a day early and just reading something completely different tomorrow. I'll still vlog it tomorrow and do like my whole wrap up and everything, but I kind of think I want to read something completely different even though tomorrow is actual Halloween day. I don't really know. So yeah, I'll definitely keep you guys updated about that at some point tomorrow. All right, happy Halloween everybody. If I sound congested, my allergies are acting up once again. This always happens when the weather changes. I feel like my nose is as red as Rudolph's right now. Love that look for me. But today is Halloween. It is the last day of the Halloween Smuttathon. So late last night after finishing Gothicana, I started several things last night. I actually started a YA thriller because I told you guys I thought I was getting burnt out on romance. I DNF'd that at like maybe 10%. It just like, I just wasn't here for it. That book was also following like an abusive relationship and I was just like, no, I do not want to read about this right now. Like I was over it. And then I started a couple of like erotic romance novellas. Neither of them, I think I tried like 2 of them. They just weren't working for me. And so then I remembered that I had Girls Weekend by C.M. Nascosta. I bet I just butchered that author's name. Love that for me. I had this checked out from Kindle Unlimited. I really want to read Morning Glory Milking Farm by this same author, but this book was published first, like a year or so ago or something. So I remembered that I had this checked out on KU, so I thought this would be the perfect time of year to read it because it is a monster romance. So this is about our three main characters, Silva, L'Oreal, and Rhys or Reese. It was just spelled R-I-S. I don't really know how to pronounce that character's name, but they are elves. And they decide to take a girls' weekend and go to this nudist resort where primarily orcs live at or stay at or hang out at, whatever the case may be. And they just want to have a good time and have some sexy times with some orcs. And so that's essentially what happens. I loved Silva and L'Oreal's characters in particular, and I loved what the author did with their storylines. I was a huge fan of Tate and Kosh, who are the orcs that Silva and L'Oreal hang out with throughout this novella. I'm gonna leave it at that because I don't want to spoil anything for you, but I really loved their storylines. And then we had Reese. How do I want to pronounce her name? I guess I'll go with Rhys. That's probably wrong. I feel like Rhys's character totally got the short end of the stick because she's like trying to have a good time on this girls' weekend, and she kind of does, but she kind of doesn't. So I saw that the author is planning on writing a second book in this little series following these three main characters. And I believe it already has a title, Parties or Party, I can't quite remember. If that sequel is definitely happening, Rhys better get a much better storyline, because I honestly was getting annoyed after a while with how poopy her storyline was. Like, just being honest, like, I just wanted more for her. I wanted her to have as good of a time as the other two main characters did, and that just like wasn't the case. And I was kind of annoyed. So because of that, I ended up giving this 4 stars. I still really enjoyed it. I found the characters to be very relatable, even though they're elves and orcs. Yeah, it was just a good time. Really, really fun. And so that was everything that I read for this Halloween smutathon. I mean, it's like, what, 6:56 right now? So I mean, I technically still have a few hours left to this readathon, but honestly, I kind of want to get a jump start on my November reading. I really want to start a historical romance. I've been in the mood for that lately, and I haven't really read, I think I only read like 1 historical romance this month or something, if that. So I read a total of 9 things this week, which is awesome. And I'm really happy that the lowest rating I gave a book this week was a 3.5 star. And I still enjoyed that novella, just like wasn't amazing. So I had a really great reading week, had some really great 5-star reads. As far as what my favorite read of the readathon is, I think I'm going to settle on Don't Hex and Drive by Juliet Cross. I adore Juliet Cross's writing style, and I've already raved and raved about this book in this vlog already. But The Dare by Harley LaRue is also a very, very close second. Very close second. I absolutely loved that novella, and that is a very different story from this book for sure. They are 2 very different books. But yeah, I had a really great time with this readathon. Thank you so much, Riley and Lainey, once again for hosting this round. This is always one of my favorite readathons to do, and I always have to film a vlog whenever this readathon comes up because I know I'm gonna have a really fun time. And thank you so much for watching. I would love it if you would leave a comment down below telling me if you participated in this readathon, and if you did, tell me about the books that you read and if you enjoyed them or not. I always love hearing from you guys in the comments. And with all that being said, I would love it if you would leave a like and subscribe, and I thank you so much in advance if you do, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!